Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ, you're here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review. Got a domination match for you today. Estuary maybe? And we're in this fourth anniversary reward ship. I'm using air quotes for all that. The Cyclone. The Cyclone is a Bourrasque class destroyer. Uh, you know, Bourrasque class destroyers didn't impact anything very much except the bottom of the ocean. So I'm not going to bother giving you the history simply because I'm about to shit all over this gift, alleged gift from Wargaming to those of us who have been throwing money at this game for 4 years. This is a horrible ship. Make no mistake about it. It is not a reward. It's like fool's gold. If you were dumb enough to pour money into this game or waste your time on it for 4 years, you were rewarded with this absolute joke of a destroyer. And I'm going to make it very clear how much of a joke it is as I go through the stats with you guys. First and foremost, the big difference about this destroyer, aside from it being a Tier 3 destroyer at Tier 4, the big thing you can see right here in the consumables, you don't have a main battery reload booster. Instead, you've got a couple of smoke screens. And that's great and everything, but you have some of the very worst damage per second, HE DPM, damage per minute, pardon me, in the game. Some of the very worst. All right, here we're spotting all sorts of ships. Got a Kaiser, got a Kuma. We are going to engage the Kuma there and get set on fire twice for our trouble. All these torpedoes we launch into the mist don't hit anything. They do not. The only thing we hit is this island. So let's talk about the stats really quickly. I am not using WoW's builds because this ship is not present in WoW's builds. However, I am using WoW's build stats to illustrate where the Cyclone sits in the stat comparison. Keep in mind, I am using the stats from this game, so they are going to be lower if you don't have a commander in there. All the ships we're comparing it to are ships without commanders, so keep that in mind. Hit points, the only thing that is somewhat respectable about this ship, of the 16 destroyers at Tier 4, you'd be 8th with 11,700 hit points. That's literally the only thing that this ship has going for it is hit points. All right, HE DPM, 50,928 with our build. That would put you at 13th out of 16 destroyers at Tier 4. So you're not going to be burning anyone down with your HE at all. Torpedo range, you're 5th. But keep in mind when I say 5th, a lot of destroyers at Tier 5 have very similar torpedo ranges. The actual grouping is in the 10 to 12 ships out of 16. You're tied with the Acasta and the Minakaze. You do not have long-range torpedoes. AA DPS, carriers in these matches. It's important to know there's a carrier in this match. Your damage per second is tied for 11th. However, 2 ships are tied. So you're in a grouping between 12 and 14 with the Sirocco and Okhotnik. That's not really a surprise to anybody. French destroyers have trashy AA, which even makes it more puzzling that they didn't give this ship a main battery reload booster, because once you get spotted, I mean, you do have a smoke screen, but once you get spotted, you're going to be neutralized, unless you're going to burn through your 2 smoke screens, and then you'll be worthless. All right, speed at Tier 4, French destroyers are supposed to be fast. Sirocco's not very fast, and the Cyclone is the slowest ship at Tier 4, 16. Now, we're using a speed boost flag that gives us a small percentage to our speed. The speed of this ship in this match is 33.1 knots. Sirocco has 33.0 knots, so presumably if you're using the speed boost flag in Sirocco, you would have more speed than this absolute piece of garbage Cyclone. Wargaming, just move it to Tier 3. Just admit, hey, we messed up. Move it to Tier 3, and or give it a main battery reload booster. That's really all you have to do to fix this utter piece of garbage. This is a terrible, terrible destroyer. If you are playing this game solely to get this destroyer, please reevaluate your life. It is a bad idea. This destroyer is absolutely terrible. It's garbage, and it's a garbage reward. Okay? Give me a mission that I have to grind out and give me a better destroyer, or put this thing at tier 3 where it belongs. Alright, here we're in one of the cap circles. Bravo. Whatever. Who cares? Alright, here's a full health emerald. We are using high explosive. You know, it's a good thing this thing has a lot of hit points, because it's going to need all of them to beat an emerald in a battle. You know, not even really doing anything great, except for the emerald driver is kind of careless, and he ate a couple of torpedoes. Now, we do get some citadel hits, and we finished them off. But let's be honest, folks. Any competent emerald player would have eaten my lunch in this trash can of a ship. Okay, it's trash. It's a tier 3 ship playing a tier 4. It's got some of the lowest HE DPM at the tier. It's got the worst speed at the tier. It's got terrible concealment. It has no AA to speak of. And it has low torpedo range. There's literally nothing redeeming about this ship except it has a lot of hit points, comparatively speaking, to the rest of its garbage stats. You have an average level of hit points in the ship. So at tier 4, you know, like this game, maybe you can hang around a little bit because you can soak up some damage. But at the end of the day, there's nothing redeeming about this ship. There's no quality to build into, except for maybe you could build into your armor piercing and hope the cruisers stupidly sail broadside into a bunch of your torpedoes before you tune them up. You know, there's no strong point for this ship. There's nothing to build into. It is a tier 3 ship. It is underwater at tier 4. It's going to get embarrassed in match after match. You will feel embarrassed to play it. You know, this is a ship like the Sims or the Charles F. Hughes, where if you kill somebody, they're going to feel ashamed and they'll probably quit playing the game because that's how bad this ship is. Okay? They'll be like, oh my god, I got killed by a cyclone. Time to put the controller down. You know? That's the one good thing about this ship, is that if you kill somebody, and it doesn't matter how good you do in the match or not, because you're in a cyclone, everyone knows you're going to stink it up. And so if you do good, then it's like, great. But if you do terrible, no one's going to be pissed and say, oh, the cyclone lost me the match. Because they already know it's a cyclone and it's a piece of garbage. So they won't think that. All right, here in a normal destroyer, appropriate strength destroyer for the tier, I wouldn't have to choose between two enemies. I would be able to kill them both. But because we're in literally the worst destroyer at tier 4, I can't do that. I have to pick one or the other and let the other ship brutalize me and hope I can stay alive with my 38-24 remaining hit points. Alright, so we got our speed boost going. We are using a Bueno. I actually don't recommend a Bueno as the commander for this ship. I recommend Violette. And so if you have Violette at a high level, I would use Violette as the commander. Why was I using a Bueno? Because I'm a glutton for punishment. Alright, now keep in mind, in my build, I did not reduce my main battery reload because it's already 10 seconds. It's already so bad that I couldn't bring myself to use Torpedo Safari or whatever it's called, the other torpedo skill in row 1 that reduces your main battery reload by 10%. Couldn't do it to myself. So in the future, I would use Louis Violette as the commander of this ship if you're stuck with it. We torped out at the Kaiser. I think we're going to get 2 torpedo strikes. All right, maybe just 1, because I have poor aim, and he was doing this weird backing maneuver. So we put up our smoke screen. You know, did it really do anything for us? No, not really. And because I want my teammates to continue shooting at these ships, because I have no belief that I'm actually going to be able to kill any of them by myself, we just left our smoke screen. Okay? So, yeah, it is not any good. And really, the only thing you're seeing here is how bad some of my opponents were. It is not that the ship is good or powerful or has anything remotely good going for it. It's just that these people aren't any good, okay? We're playing at tier 3. They probably just picked up this game yesterday. We're moving in on the Kaiser. His shots are all over the place. I think that was the first time he hit me with a secondary gun. His main battery shots aren't anywhere near me. Okay, they're in the water. We're going to torp out on him here. There's set 1 of torpedoes. Here is set 2. We're trying to dodge planes. We do take him out. Devastating strike, mostly to his ego, not so much to his ship. And here's the Hosho. And as much as I would love to kill the Hosho, I can't, because I got to kill a cruiser. Okay, and that's literally one of the only things this destroyer is good at, is fooling cruisers into thinking it's just a crappy French destroyer. You might be able to get away with that. But if it's a soft-skinned cruiser, this French armor piercing is somewhat redeeming in that you can get Citadel hits. And we just get absolutely smashed by the Kuma there. But he comes to a halt in the water, and as he kills us, we also kill him, resulting in something known as a Pyrrhic victory. All right, I think I'm, let's talk about the Cyclone. Thankfully, it is saved in my Bing search bar. The French destroyer Cyclone was invented, or built, pardon me, in 1925. Allegedly went 33 knots. Didn't have any AA. Had a couple of depth charges. This thing was built. It just sailed around the Mediterranean. And during World War II, it did convoy escorts. Participated in Dunkirk. Got its bow blown off by a German boat, an E-boat. I don't even know what an E-boat is. Blizkovica escorted Cyclone back to Dover. Sirocco was evacuating people from Dunkirk. Sirocco got sunk by a couple German E-boats, and Blizkovica left Cyclone to deal with that. And then Blizkovica came back after rescuing some survivors from Sirocco. Anyway, it was scuttled to prevent Germans from capturing it, and they planned to salvage the ship as ZF-4, but they abandoned the project in 1941. And the French Navy recovered the wreck in 1944, and they presumably turned it into some of those hammered metal signs that you see on the side of the road there in France. All right, this match is about over, and my teammates are so competent, they can't even finish off an aircraft carrier. This guy here in the Chungking, he just went the wrong way around the island. If he had gone the other way, he might have been able to get shots of that aircraft carrier and finish it off. All right, here we are on the victory screen. Devastating strike metal, 70,359 total damage. 22 main battery hits, 6 torpedo strikes, 3 kills, and a solo base cap. Also had 6 hits to Citadel. 226,962 silver and 9762 ship XP and commander XP. That must be some sort of reward for playing a absolutely terrible ship somewhat skillfully. It's just terrible. And we're not even at the top of the board. 1972 base XP, 1 medal, 3 big kills. What's really embarrassing is that the best ship on the enemy team was also a Cyclone. And look, we're out here in the Cyclone, and we feel that we really have to push hard in these ships because they were a reward ship. But at the end of the day, I've read you the stats. There's nothing magical baked into the cake. This is a Tier 3 destroyer. It is playing out of its depth at Tier 4. I read you the stats. It is clearly one of the worst ships in the tier, whose only benefit is that it has a lot of hit points, which is going to matter when you go up against ships that will rip you to shreds with their HEDPM. All right, here in the port, aiming system mod 1, because you can't really use anything else. We do have the 2 charges of the smoke generator. Would I use the heal? I mean, that's up to you. My opinion is at this tier, smoke is somewhat helpful, so I did take the smoke. 4 charges of the engine boost, because our legendary skill with this commander gives us an extra engine boost. There's that battle booster, so without it, you'd be the slowest ship in the game at the tier. Permanent camouflage, and the clip of the week flag. When I'm not trashing Wargaming, I'm winning clip of the week awards. But now that you've seen the clip of the week award, I will put this flag on here indicating that I love wasting money on this game. All right, 11,700 hit points. The only bright point about this ship. You've got the same guns as the Bourrasque, but they have worse reload. 10 kilometer range, 10-second reload, 18-second turn time, HE shells 2122 max damage with a 9% fire chance. AP shells 2450 max damage. Your HE DPM is just over 50k. Two triple tube launchers, reload every 84 seconds, max damage 12,582, just a 6 kilometer range, and they go 61 knots. The detectability is 1,200 meters. AA defense, well, it's still better than a slingshot, but that's not much to speak of. Again, we talked about the speed numbers. The rudder shift is okay, but that speed is terrible. And concealment, 5.3 on the surface, 2.8 from the air, 2.3 when firing in smoke. I think just to have a good laugh, we're going to look at the stats page. Yeah, that's the best game I played in this ship. It sucks. Although the guns do appear somewhat accurate, probably because I'm hesitant to fire at anything unless I know I can hit it. Again, it's a tier 3 ship. You know, here's our commander, Filippo Bueno. Again, I would take him out of there, and I would put Violette, if you have Violette at any sort of skill level. We did get a little bit more HE damage from this guy's base trait, but at the end of the day, this is not a torpedo boat, and I was not using subsurface venture because I didn't want to nerf the already glacially slow reload of the main battery. So I think, all things considered, you would be better off removing Filippo Bueno and putting Louis Violette in there, because at least you'll get some incoming splash damage reduction. And at the end of the day, Wargaming, you just need to institute the reduced damage model that they have for French destroyers on PC. You can see the reload didn't change, the concealment didn't change with Violette in there. So I recommend Violette, but more than that, I recommend to not set your expectations very high for the Cyclone. It is a terrible ship. It is not really a reward. It is more like a booby prize. And there it is. I hope you enjoy it. I know I don't.